Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, and I'm already ready for the weekend. Quad Bennett, how's it going? Heat, how's it going? Firefly, welcome. Whew, all right. Folks, we definitely got a few things to go through. Before we get started, the usual disclaimers, folks. If you want to support the channel, there are many ways of doing it. Hit the follow button here on Twitch. It really does help us out. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also, if you're on the YouTube, you can like the stream. That does help us out. Subscribe, share, spread the word. Make sure we got everything going. There we go. Howdy, how's it going, Heat? Join the Discord, folks. Okay, join the Discord. There's lots of cool people there. We got some recently new cat emotes. So there's that. Movie night is coming up. Not this Saturday, folks, but the Saturday after that. If you also want to support the channel and you want to wear some cool merch while doing so, ! merch. Okay, for now, that's good to hear. All right, folks. Let's get started. That's right. Anyone interested in the movie night should join the event. You'll get a notification when it starts. Yes. I will also make sure to, do a couple of announcements beforehand. So in case you didn't select the notification or the event, you can still be notified. But it is easier if you just kind of join the event. I'm just saying. Alright, I've cracked open my kombucha. I got a can of kombucha that's supposed to be good for you, so we'll see. It tastes good. It's raspberry lemonade. So no mineral water or sparkling water today, but this will have to do. It does. It is very good. It tastes good anyways. Anything lemonade can usually do the job for me. Like, raspberry on its own is pretty decent, but raspberry lemonade? Now we're talking. Alright, folks, let's get started. Just make sure I got this going over here.
Nothing warms my heart more than watching fascists fight, and today, two of the most influential bigots in the country who both repopularized old tropes about LGBTQ+ people have turned on each other, and they are now publicly spatting. But it gets even better because they're both also being dogpiled by the other's fans, which is only further fanning the flames between the two of them. Now, I'm talking about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and stochastic terrorist Chaya Raichik of Libs of TikTok. And it all started when Raichik made this post about Florida, where she shared a news story about 3 undocumented immigrants that allegedly essayed a woman in a car, and asserts that Florida, quote, apparently allows undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses, which isn't true, by the way, hence why she was community noted. Now, Ron DeSantis seemingly took that as a slight against him, and he called her out for it on Twitter, writing, quote, Libs of TikTok got community noted for lying about Florida law, which not only prohibits undocumented immigrants from getting driver's licenses, but also prohibits recognition of licenses issued to undocumented immigrants from other states. Truth shouldn't be a casualty of attempts to generate clicks and engagement farm. So,
I mean, like, that's literally the whole point of Libs of TikTok, right? To generate clicks and engagement based off this hate machine, right? Conscious Canuck lurking, thank you. That's right, bust out the popcorn.
I mean, he's basically calling her a liar and accusing her of grifting. And her fans did not take kindly to that, which led to an all-out dogpile on DeSantis, with them responding to his call-out saying, WTF, who posted this? We know it's not DeSantis himself. Out of all the people to go at, why Libs of TikTok? If she made a mistake, it will come out in the community note. It was clearly an honest mistake. There's no need for a personal attack. Chaya issued multiple statements clarifying her remarks. Ron, I've always supported you as governor, but you went overboard accusing Libs of TikTok of engagement farming. People make mistakes. Have you ever made a mistake? Perhaps like running against Trump? Got him. Yikes. This is a really bad look for you, Ron. Posts like these are examples of why he's not the GOP nominee, folks. I like his policies, but he doesn't get it. This is a private message to Libs of TikTok, not a public battle. This feels personal against Chaya. You really don't want to get back in the good graces of MAGA, do you? You're already on thin ice with Republicans, Ronnie boy.
Whew. Man. The hive mind. The conservative hive mind, folks.
Might not want to pick fights with people who are infinitely more popular than you. Now, there were a lot of other replies telling him to apologize, and some got pretty nasty, like these, where he was called a tiny D, and they even accused his wife of exaggerating her cancer. In fact, the dogpile was so overwhelming, as Ari Drennan explains, that DeSantis' press team is dutifully noting the flood of belligerent comments that follow an inaccurate Libs of TikTok post, a trend that mainstream journalists and misinformation researchers have been reporting on for years now. And in his posts about Raichik,
yeah, now all of a sudden, man, phenomenal stuff, right? Now all of a sudden, the truth matters, right? Get them solved, they're swarming.
DeSantis' press secretary shared additional examples aside from the harassment of people reaching out in earnest asking if it's true that undocumented immigrants can obtain driver's licenses in Florida, and adds, this is something our comms team will be dealing with in perpetuity. It's another false narrative that will never go away, all for clicks, doubling down on the grifter accusation.
Right, so that, yeah, again, now all of a sudden, getting the facts right matters, huh? Like, just to be clear, just to be clear, this person, the representative or spokesperson that's like pointing this out, let us be very clear. Like they don't care about the truth. Like Ron DeSantis doesn't all of a sudden care about the truth. Okay, Ron DeSantis or in his team, his PR team or whatever, don't all of a sudden care about like journalistic integrity. Okay. They don't all of a sudden care about, you know, a large account spreading false narratives and that, you know, they'll have to be dealing with, that everyone will have to be dealing with in perpetuity, right? They don't all of it, they actually fundamentally don't care about the truth. They're just big mad. That's it. Yeah, exactly. He does care about someone making him look bad, right? Big mad.
Now, another defense of Rychik from her supporters is that she later clarified under her original post that Florida actually doesn't allow undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses, and I think that she was probably finding that out in real time, and she blamed the ones that were able to get licenses on a woke state attorney. The problem was she never deleted the original tweet, and the clarification was made more than an hour after the fact, and to make matters worse, the clarification only got a fraction of the views as her first tweet that went viral. And as a result, millions of people now think that DeSantis doesn't hate immigrants as much as he actually does in reality, which is why he was so pissed, because he doesn't want people to think that he's compassionate or would be kind to immigrants in any way. And now she put out that myth, and he's pissed.
Thinking I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
If you want to drop this...
Oi!
But Chaya
What? Was that Dr. Drew? That's a first. Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
responded directly to DeSantis, and it's clear that she was utterly gutted that her idol basically called her a liar and a grifter. But she defended herself and has a perfectly reasonable excuse, in my opinion, that's very, very convincing. So her excuse is that she wasn't actually lying. She was being sarcastic. I'm not joking about this. She writes, "The last thing I ever thought I'd be doing on a Wednesday afternoon is defending myself against Ron DeSantis. I made a sarcastic comment." She's so unreal. "I made a sarcastic comment about Florida apparently allowing undocumented immigrants to get driver's licenses because a woke state attorney literally told an undocumented immigrant to get a license. I clarified twice in the subsequent posts that Florida law doesn't allow undocumented immigrants to get licenses and demanded accountability from the state attorney who was trying to subvert Florida law. These corrections were made hours before DeSantis attacked me and hours before the community note was published. Now, the governor, who I've only ever congratulated for his wins and have never attacked, is publicly attacking me, calling me a liar and a grifter." Just wow. She's distraught, guys. I understand DeSantis wanting to correct the record, and this post could have been a correction, championing Florida's incredible record on undocumented immigration. Instead, it turned into a personal attack. For the record, I think DeSantis is a good governor, have publicly said this, and still stand by it. This personal attack from him is disappointing. So sad. Her feelings were hurt. So she is trying to take the high road here, and she's not mad. She's just disappointed. Cope and seethe, Chaya. Cope and seethe. Now, in response to that
that obviously is not true. She just got friggin' bodied. And, yeah. Cope.
Necessarily long post, she ended up getting a taste of her own medicine because Ron DeSantis' supporters decided to dogpile on her. This is all too funny. So they responded saying, "Just delete the false post. I just made a sarcastic comment." No, you didn't.
True.
You lied. You got called out. Now you are playing the victim. Textbook.
Hey, there you go. Now, hey, hold on. This person's onto something. This person's onto something. That's literally these people's playbook. Is to play the perpetual victim. Eric, how's it going? Welcome.
MAGA. You aren't some hero. You are a social media influencer who does this for money. True. Chaya, you made a false accusation against someone on your own side. He offered you a place to live when you were doxxed, and you used false allegations to defame his governance. A simple apology would have sufficed. Just delete the post. You made a false accusation, and whether you intended to or not, it is seen as clickbait. We appreciate your work, but humble yourself and delete the post. You weren't being sarcastic.
We appreciate your sarcastic terrorism. But lying about how much Ron DeSantis actually hates immigrants, that's a bridge too far. Kamikaze, welcome.
and you aren't the victim here, Chaya. I respect so much of what you do, but just own this and move on. How can it be a personal attack when you're not a personal account? And somebody also shared this comic of her shoveling shit, which is humorous. Now, what you saw was just a small taste of the backlash that she received, but both camps are still pissed because Rychik's fans are mad that DeSantis never acknowledged her clarification, and DeSantis' fans are mad that she left the original tweet up. So suffice to say, this bridge is burned. And this is significant because Rychik's viral posts about groomers in the LGBTQ plus community that are teachers is what inspired Florida's Don't Say Gay law. But on the subject of Don't Say Gay, there was another L this week for these two fascists, because as the AP reports, the law has been completely defanged as part of a settlement reached between the state and those affected by it. They report, quote, "The main thing the settlement does is clarify a law that was purposefully vague so it could be used as a weapon to discriminate," said Joe Saunders, senior political director at Equality Florida and a former state lawmaker. "A key point of clarity is how the law applies to classroom instruction, as opposed to mere discussion or mention of a topic anywhere on school grounds." He listed some things that will change now. Books featuring LGBTQ plus characters were removed from school libraries in one county. Those books must now be returned.
Nice.
But depending on the content of the book, a teacher might not be able to say, read it aloud in class. Anti-bullying programs that had been ditched because they addressed anti-LGBTQ plus bullying can resume. Teachers in a county that once allowed them to designate their classrooms as LGBTQ plus safe spaces with a sticker on the door were required to peel them off. Now the stickers can return. One valedictorian was forced to censor a commencement speech in which he mentioned he was gay. That kind of censorship would no longer be allowed. Lawyers advised teachers in one county that they shouldn't talk with students about LGBTQ plus issues, or if they were in a same-sex relationship, even put family photos on their desks. Those photos can now come out of the closet. Also, some after-school gay-straight alliances canceled meetings or went underground because most are advised by teachers, some of whom worried about being punished. Those are now clearly allowed.
Nice.
Quote, "What the settlement now makes clear is that students can say gay in Florida schools, that students can say trans in schools, and not have to deal with censorship from the weaponized vagueness of the law," Saunders said in an interview Tuesday. In other words, the Don't Say Gay era is officially over in Florida, and you absolutely love to see it. Now, what's funny is that DeSantis is still taking this settlement as a victory since the law technically remains on the books, which is true, but that vagueness is specifically what had a chilling effect on speech. So with the law now being clarified as part of this settlement, none of that is legal, meaning that you can say gay again. And the law, it exists, but it lacks teeth. And even though classroom instruction is technically banned, I mean, that was never happening in the first place. But what this did was chill speech when it comes to just general discussions about LGBTQ plus issues. So that way a teacher could be punished if...
Correct. We should not be forcing teachers to meet with students underground. Correct.
For example, they have a picture of their spouse of the same sex on the desk. Or if, for example, a kid has two mommies or two daddies and another kid asks about that, well, the teacher doesn't just have to like zip their lips. They can say, yeah, you know, some kids have two mommies, two daddies. Families are different. And side note, all of the draconian anti-LGBTQ plus laws that Republicans have been cooking up in West Virginia as of late were defeated this week, or I should say most of them were defeated. Aaron in the Morning reports that a total of 20 anti-LGBTQ plus laws were defeated. So, you know, it's been a really bad week for bigots. And now on top of all of these political defeats, the pioneers of the modern day hate crusade against LGBTQ plus people are publicly fighting with each other. And now their little minions are going to bat as well. They're butting heads. So sad to see. I feel so bad for all of them. Thoughts and prayers. Hope you all make up so soon. I'm just kidding, of course. Keep fighting. Let them fight. I think this is great. The more they fight, the better. And I hope that their fans continue to dogpile, because that only makes them hate the other more and permanently severs this alliance. So you love to see it.
True. Based. That's right. Two mommies. Two Handmaid's Tale for my taste. Yep. Thankfully, like I keep pointing out, you know, the silver lining in all of this is these fascists' complete and total incoherence is actually hindering worst case scenarios. That is the whole silver lining of all of this. Despite how bad, things are, the silver lining is that these people are tripping over each other and eating each other instead of, enacting worst case scenarios. You do love to see it, indeed. Nice. And you got to be thankful for that silver lining because we got stuff like this. Behind the scenes, Biden has grown angry and anxious about re-election effort. Biden locked up the Democratic nomination last year, but looking ahead to the general election, anxiety has seemed to increase. President Biden was seething. At a private meeting at the White House in January, allies of the president had just told him that his poll numbers in Michigan and Georgia had dropped over his handling of the genocide. Both are battleground states that he narrowly won 4 years ago, and he can't afford any backsliding if he is to once again defeat Trump. He began to shout and swear and be angry at the very rake that he stepped on that everybody told him that he would inevitably step on and that it would hurt. And now apparently he's mad that he stepped on the rake and it hit him in the head. Maybe he should do something about the genocide then. Exactly. He believed that what he had been doing was right despite the political fallout. Well, no, that's why people are angry, dude, and that's why you've had abysmal numbers. If people agreed with you and thought you were doing the right thing, the humane and moral thing to stop the genocide, then you wouldn't have to deal with the political fallout. Like, what part of this did you not see coming? Yeah, killing more people wasn't right. Apparently, in his idea, is like, but I did the right thing. There's 30-something K people, just under 40K people dead. That's doing the right thing. Asked about the episode, Andrew Bates, a White House spokesperson, said President Biden makes national security decisions based on the country's national security needs alone, no other factor. That's interesting. So what exactly was the national security concern about the demands for more bombs that were killing civilians? Like, what are the national security concerns for us here? Like, if he's really concerned about that, that involved selling bombs that are killing civilians. If anything, it's the opposite, right? Wouldn't you be putting national security even more at risk? I don't know. For months, Democrats have watched the 2024 campaign unfold with rising alarm as the sitting president struggles to gain ground against his defeated predecessor. Frustrations rippling through the party have reached the top, with Biden at times second-guessing travel decisions and communication strategies that have left much of the electorate clueless about his record. Interviews with nearly 20 lawmakers, present and past administration officials, and Biden allies show. Or maybe you could just, I don't know, man. Just stop, dude. Admit what you did was wrong and stop. Like, this isn't like a big conundrum, right? Like, there's no ambiguity as to the cause and effect here, right? I'm wrestling with morality of letting a monster in the White House on principle of not turning a blind eye to the people in Gaza. I'm sure it's weighing on many of us. Yeah, and here's the catch-22, or I don't know if that's the right analogy. But like, should Trump win, it would be significantly worse for the people in Gaza. Trump is out there saying stuff like, I'll help Israel finish the job. That is almost verbatim a quote. That is almost word for word the exact quote he said. He wants Israel to finish the job. Stop it. Get some help.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. Stop it, Biden. Trump would be worse overall, but I don't think he'd be any worse on Gaza. How could he be? Well, he's more open about it, I guess. Like, he's literally more open about it, but I don't know. I mean, he's wrong and stop? No way! The starting gun for the general election campaign fired last week as Biden wrapped up the Democratic nomination, presumably. Yet he is still searching for ways to impress upon voters that he deserves a second term by dint of policy achievements that eluded past president. Well, yeah, he certainly wouldn't be any better. It's kind of hard to be worse than genocidal. Yeah, that's true. History suggests it will be tougher for him to recover. Biden's 38% approval rating at this stage in the calendar is lower than that of his last three presidents who went on to lose re-election. Trump 48, Bush 39, and Jimmy Carter 43. Man, whew. Yikes. Biden has long believed that he isn't getting sufficient credit for an economy that has created 15 million jobs. Bro, again, this is not a massive conundrum, dude. Okay? This is not a massive conundrum. Looking to reach distracted voters who may be tuning in, he told the speechwriters before the State of the Union address to tone down some of the lofty rhetoric and plainly lay out what he's done, a person familiar with the speech preparation said. During an internal discussion, he'll press aides about which parts of its record to highlight in different states, said a second person who's familiar with the matter. Surrounded by protective aides who want to minimize the chances of a flub, the 81... Why would that be necessary? The 81-year-old president has chafed at restaurants that he sees as counter to his natural instinct as a retail politician, a third person familiar with the internal discussion said. He has felt cocooned at times and has been eager to get out more, meet voters face to face, and take the fight directly to Trump, said the third person and a fourth familiar with the matter who, like others, spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss campaign strategy and the president's private views. There are some signs that some within his party are losing patience with him. Biden stood up in front of the whole world and says, "I'm ready. I'm the guy who can take down Trump." Is that true? Is that true? So he's goddamn better well do it. We don't have time for him to be worried about whether or not people are saying things right or the poll numbers are where they should be. I want focused energy and not defensive anger. Biden has occasionally directed his ire at tight-knit senior staff. Given the successes he's had in passing consequential bills and improving the economy, Biden was irritated that his message wasn't sinking in with the broader electorate. My dude. This is not a conundrum. This is not some secret. All Bibi would need to do is pull Trump aside and tell him Gazans are Biden supporters, and Trump would double the weapon shipment. True. Yeah, the message from us is clear, right? Like, man, it's literally the bicycle meme. It's literally this. Biden's like an incel and that he thinks that everyone else who doesn't like him, even though he's doing everything right. Yeah. Ceasefire now. What? How come you don't like this economy, Jack? 8 months before the election, Biden's campaign team remains confident about its chances. A memo that the campaign manager, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, sent out in December suggests that it was always a plan for Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to start ramping up campaign travel earlier this year, something that is now happening. Since the State of the Union speech, Biden has traveled to Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. He'll be heading to Nevada, Arizona, and earlier this week. Early this week, the president and his advisors have all been eager for him to be out there more and planned for that to take place at the start of the election year, as it has been the norm for the past incumbents seeking re-election. Biden's aides see Trump as an eminently beatable and deeply flawed opponent. In a recent campaign call with reporters, Jen O'Malley Dillon, the campaign chairwoman, said Trump appears to have little interest in attracting voters beyond his most faithful base. Because there won't be any more. Not many. Not many. We know that he lost in 2020, and in order to win, he's got to expand his base of voters to find new people to be with him. And that's not something that he's shown that he's really focused on. Yeah, but also, conversely, it could be the case that the amount of people, because like 2020 was a unprecedented turnout. Conversely, even if he doesn't expand his voter base by much or at all it takes is for people to stay home. Because if you're gambling that Trump is Trump's not going to expand his base, not by much or if at all, so we'll be good because he didn't in 2020. 2020 was a different election. 2020 was a different election. Personally, I don't believe that the amount of turnout that you're going to get, that you got in 2020, will be there in 2024. If they actually show up, he'll be good, unlike Biden. Right, that's the issue. You are not looking at the same election. Thinking that this is going to be an exact play-by-play of 2020 is a big mistake. Trump won in 2016 with 62 million votes. 62 million. Lost in 2020 with 74 million. Right. That goes to show how, you know, first of all, how many people came out to vote in 2020. If he gets 74 again, there's no doubt he'd win. Yeah, especially if the amount of people that Biden needs to win are threatening to stay home or not voting for him or just showing up to vote, down ballot. The only reason Trump won in 2016 is because Hillary forgot Michigan and Wisconsin existed, among other things. Yes, among a long laundry list of why 2016 happened. Yes. At times, Biden gets suggestions that conflict with one another. Some advisors have told him that he should walk faster out of concern that his gait aids impressions that he's too old. Oh man, dude, literally anything but addressing like the biggest elephant in the room, right? That's why I tell my Donnie loving friends that I'm voting twice, but not for Donnie. Their buttons are just easy to press. It's probably the haircut. And yet, yeah, it's probably the haircut, right? Not the genocide. It's that he walks too slow. And yet the White House is sufficiently worried about him tripping that he has taken to boarding Air Force One via a shorter staircase to the belly of the plane, foregoing the iconic image of the president waving from the main doorway high above the tarmac. He's probably a little mad at himself for not being more forceful with the staff. Or not, I don't know, man, just not support genocide. Privately, Biden questions whether he should trust his gut instinct over guidance coming from the array of advisors tending to his political interests. This person added, the man's been successful for decades in Congress and became vice president and president. Said a fifth person who formerly served in the Biden administration. If you try to change the person, you're making a mistake. Let the president go out there and do his thing. Well, him doing his thing is costing everything. A consensus of Democratic officials is that Biden needs an army of surrogates to spread the word that his record has improved American lives in concrete ways. He can't carry the message alone. Andre Dickens, a Democratic mayor of Atlanta, said that Trump's bluster tends to soak up the attention, but Biden's record is actually making the city's streets safer. He cites spending bills that enable his city to pay retention bonuses to police officers and underwrite youth programs to help curb crime. Yeah, dude, just what the Democratic electorate wants to hear. Coming after a blowhard like Trump, who tells you every day what he hates and what he likes, Biden is soft and calm and getting the work done. Letting voters know is the job of the mayor and county leaders who have benefited from the Biden administration's policies. Simplicity might be Biden's most promising approach. Some of his allies said packaging his record as part of an American Renaissance, a success story that's putting money into people's pockets, they suggested. How are you going to sell that when people don't see it? You have to be honest, man. Yeah, Democratic voters just love Cop City so much. True. Yeah, just what the electorate wants to hear, right? Tough on immigration. Yeah, and the reason why you vote Democrat is to have Republican policies enacted. That's why you vote Democrat. Mary Landrieu is a former Democratic senator from Louisiana and a Biden supporter. Asked about Biden's inability to get credit for legislation meant to revive American high-tech manufacturing and upgrade the country's roads and bridges, she said, I think it's actually a bit of a failure of communication on the part of the White House. Again, yes, but also there's a huge genocide elephant in the room. Nearly $4 billion in clean energy projects are underway in Louisiana under a bill that Biden ushered into law called the Inflation Reduction Act, a title that doesn't capture the measure's real purpose. There's a real story to tell, Landrieu said. It's a winning message about jobs, prosperity, and evolution. If that message can be communicated, I think the American people will respond. No, man, the American people have already told you, the people that are going to go out and vote for you have already told you why they're angry, okay? They've told you about the rake on the floor, and you stepped on the rake. You can't be mad that you stepped on the rake. Like, this can't be you right now, okay? Did the article mention Gaza? No. The only thing that was mentioned is that Biden thought he's doing the right thing. Well, he's not. He's not, and people are angry about it, and everything else is being talked about as to potential strategies and reasons other than like actually addressing the real reason why people are angry and why his poll numbers are such garbage. All recent polling has basically not changed much. I want to know how I can see. just a presidential general election. To gloss over the number one issue is re-election, why we don't trust mainstream media. Trump plus 2 to Trump plus 4. It's been stuck there for a month or more. Yeah, something like that. Like even Biden. Even Biden plus 3. Even Trump plus 4. Trump plus 4. Even Trump plus 4 plus 9, which that seems like an anomaly. Plus 6. Plus 11. Oh no, this is Ohio. Ooh. Where's national? There we are. Biden even Trump plus 4 plus 9 plus 6 plus Biden plus 1. Like, man, whew. Yeah, but like it's safe to say that not much has changed in terms of like Biden's electability chances, right? Not much has changed. We're within basically a coin flip at this point. And it's been like that for a while. And that's never good news. It's been like that for a while, and it's not exactly great. And if nothing changes, then it's not usually indicative of not a good outcome. But yeah. Refusing to acknowledge the genocidal elephant in the room is going to cost them the election. Feeding frenzy.
Over the weekend, when he wasn't calling for a bloodbath or saying that undocumented immigrants are not humans, Donald Trump was also caught on a hot mic during a conversation with Fox News host Steve Doocy, where Donald Trump explained exactly why he wants to be a dictator here in the United States. So here it is, Trump on a hot mic, didn't know anybody could hear him, but they did. Take a look.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
they talked about that yesterday with Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he is the strong head. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Huh. So I guess Donald Trump's claims about wanting to be a dictator only on day one were total BS, right? I mean, just as everybody predicted, this is what Donald Trump wants.
Right. Like, the point to take from this is that, like, he's not kidding. Okay? He's not joking. It's not sarcasm. It's not, you took him out of context. He is an authoritarian. And the implication of what Donald Trump is saying there is, yeah, I want yes men. I don't want to be inhibited by all this nonsense of checks and balances. That's what he's getting at. Yeah, I need to make an unlurk command.
He wants your undying, unyielding loyalty. When he enters a room, he wants you to stand up. When he's speaking, he wants you to stand up and applaud. He wants to make sure that he is the central focus of your life. He wants every household in this country to have a framed portrait of Donald J. Trump in place of their television. He wants your love. But most importantly, he wants to have that kind of power over you. He wants to have the kind of power to where if he's speaking and you do not stand up, he can have you thrown in jail. He wants to be a dictator. Again, this is what he said in private. What he says in private is probably far more damning than what he says in public.
Which also, incidentally, is the same. Like, he's not joking when he says that he would like to be a dictator, even if it's just for one day. You know, dictators famously stay in power for one day. That's usually how that works. But yeah, he's not joking. People in Thailand really did have pictures of the king in their homes. Huh.
He didn't think anybody could hear him. He didn't think his mic was on. He didn't think any cameras were rolling. But they were, and they caught this comment. He admires people like Kim Jong-un. He admires people like Vladimir Putin, who, of course, won an overwhelming presidential election this past weekend with 87% of the vote, of course, right? And that's what Trump wants.
Right. Like, massive red flags all across the board. Like, if you adulate, like, the idea of if you adulate the idea of a strong man, of an authoritarian, or if you like that concept and you hang out with people you perceive to have that, you know, how much did Putin win by the other day? Like 80 something percent, like high 80 something. We're talking like 87 or 88% of the vote. Yeah. He said that he would be his first day if he's president. Yep.
He wants to have those kind of Russian rigged elections here in the United States. He wants to be president or dictator for the next several decades. He wants that absolute power. And he's close to getting it. Let's not forget, this is what the entire Project 2025 is all about. Making sure that Donald Trump is constantly, every second of every day, surrounded by spineless sycophants. Whether it's at the DOJ, whether it's the Department of Education, the FDA, the EPA, doesn't matter. Project 2025 wants to replace career civil servants with up to 50,000 Donald Trump loyalists. Every lawyer at the Department of Justice, up to and including the Attorney General under a second Trump term, will be a spineless yes person. So when Trump says, I'm not going to leave office when my term is up, go find a way to make that legal, they will do it. He already controls the Supreme Court. And God forbid conservatives finally do what Democrats failed to do these last couple years and expand the court, put even more conservatives up there. They could do that.
Yeah.
And Trump could pick 4 new people that he knows will shred the Constitution to make him a Kim Jong-un-like dictator. Because that is what he wants. He is telling us that is what he wants. He just didn't realize he was telling us that. So when you hear people say that Donald Trump was claiming he wants to be dictator for just one day, make sure you realize that those are the people that will absolutely make him the dictator. In fact, polls have shown that most conservatives actually like that idea. They like those comments. We are fighting against a group of people that want to turn this country into an authoritarian fascist dictatorship.
Yeah. And his supporters want him to have that power. That's what's infuriating. The ignorant screams of freedom all the time when they would give it away at the drop of a hat. 100%. Maybe they don't. Maybe they actually don't believe in freedom. Someone checks Trump's merch site. Do they have Constitution toilet paper? Yeah, a dictator. That's right. I was raised conservative, went to a private Baptist university, changed my mind about a lot of stuff, but never would I support a dictator. It's a cult, folks. It's a death cult. It's a death cult.
With Donald Trump as the figurehead.
Yep. It's not a joke, folks. It's not sarcasm. They do drink the blood of Jesus every Sunday. True. True. Heck, he might not even need to expand the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, Trump asked the Supreme Court for absolute immunity in election interference case. Former President Trump on Tuesday today told the Supreme Court he should be granted absolute immunity for his effort to overturn the election that culminated in the January 6th insurrection, saying a ruling against him would incapacitate every future president. No, not really. No, it wouldn't unless they're inciting insurrections and trying to overturn elections, and no, it wouldn't incapacitate them in the least. Trump's and also like the precedent it would set that essentially the precedent that it would set that essentially presidents can do whatever they want is not an acceptable precedent I want set. Speaking of Trump, you saw what Jared said about Gaza today? Nope. Jared Kushner? Trump's legal team filed a brief outlining their legal arguments ahead of oral arguments in the case on April 25th, saying that Trump should enjoy absolute immunity for any official acts he undertook as president. Oh, it's on the Discord. Okay, let me see. Here we are. Let's just take a quick detour. Jared Kushner said Gaza's waterfront property could be very valuable. Oh, man. Whew. Yikes. Jared Kushner has praised the very valuable potential of Gaza's waterfront property and suggested Israel should remove civilians while it cleans up the strip. The former property dealer married to Trump's daughter Ivanka made the comments in an interview at Harvard University on March 8th. Kushner was a senior foreign policy advisor under Trump and was tasked with preparing a peace plan in the Middle East. Critics of the plan, which involved Israel striking normalization deals with the Gulf states, said it bypassed questions about the future for Palestinians. His remarks at Harvard gave a hint to the kind of Middle East policy that could be pursued in the event Trump returns to the White House, including a search for normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Gaza's waterfront property could be very valuable if people would focus on building up livelihoods, said Kushner. All the money that had gone into the territory's tunnel network and munitions instead of education and innovation. It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation here, but from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out of there and clean up. But I don't think Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterwards. Whew. Kushner said he thinks Israel should move civilians from Gaza to the Negev Desert in southern Israel. He said that if he were in charge of Israel, his number one priority would be getting civilians out of the southern city of Rafah. With diplomacy, it could be possible to get them into Egypt, even so they said no. So is Jared a monster or an idiot? I think I genuinely think he knows what he's I think he knows what he's doing. In addition, I would bulldoze something in Negev and I would try to move people in there. I think that's a better option. You can go and finish the job. He reiterated the point a little later, saying, "I do think right now I do think right now opening up the Negev and creating a secure area there, moving civilians out, and then going in and finishing the job would be the right move." Literally salivating at the idea. Yep. The suggestion drew a startled response from Assad. Is that something that they're talking about in Israel? Assad asked. I mean, that's the first I've heard somebody, aside from President Sisi, suggesting that Gazans are trying to flee the fighting could take refuge in the Negev. Are people in Israel serious about taking that possibility? I don't know, said Kushner. That would be something you'd try to work on. I'm sitting in Miami Beach right now, Kushner said, and I'm looking at the situation. I'm thinking, what would I do if I was there? Asked by Mossad about the fears of on the part of Arabs in the region that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would not allow Palestinians who flee to Gaza to return, Kushner paused and said, maybe. He went on to say, I'm not sure there is much of left of Gaza at this point. Oh, that's nice. So, like, yeah, spelling it out. Yeah. Spelling it out, huh? If you think about even the construct, Gaza was not really a historical precedent. It was a result of a war. You had tribes in different places, and Gaza became a thing. Egypt used to run it, and then over time, different governments came in. Responding to a question about whether Palestinians should have their own state, Kushner described the proposal as a super bad idea that would essentially be rewarding the act of terror. Whew. It makes me ill knowing that some of these ghouls are residing down here near us in South Florida. Yeah. Well, that's nice. Like, when you have it really spelled out like that, it really kind of paints the picture, huh? So we shouldn't give Israel a state because it would be rewarding terror. Now hold on. That logic only applies to the people that I want to support. Yikes. Yikes. That's depressing. Currently actually on the cooler side, but it won't last long. Yep. We had a pretty cold a pretty cold snap here, and that's about to be over. I'm just really cold up in North Dakota. Whew, I can imagine. Hold on, folks. It was really warm here last week, so now 50 feels cold. Yep. Also, my fever probably doesn't help. Oof. Yikes. We're in the 30s with wind. Yikes. We were, like, at the very, like, tail end of the day, it started to get really cold. I think the low was like 20 something. And anyways, I think that that's it. We just had like the last cold snap, and then that's it. Today is like the first day of spring. Well, we had like a false spring. We had the last winter is over. Plant something for me. Yeah, we planted a lot of stuff. We got onions, we got peppers, we got blueberries, we got a bunch of wildflowers coming. They're like little tiny seedlings right now. We've got we got jalapenos, wild peppers, yeah. What else do we have? Cilantro. Mint is coming back to life. The mint plant is starting to wake up again. We got a few things. I love cilantro. Yes, Mrs. Truth likes cilantro too. Mint spreads like wildfire. It does. That's why it needs to stay in the pot. That's very true. That's why it stays in the pot, because if not, it's just gonna start. Besides, I don't think it belongs here. I'll have to double check, but yeah, that's staying in a pot. Otherwise, it'll take over the whole dang garden. We've also got some like wild blackberry or black cherry. No, it's not black cherry. It's like black raspberry. That's like kind of like a wild raspberry. Hold on. Yeah, it kind of looks like this. We have that that pops up like wild. Last time it didn't give us that much fruit. But we'll see. We'll see if it comes up. They taste pretty good too. Mint is also great for tea, by the way. I love mint tea. You didn't get all loopy? Wait, from what? No, these are good berries. They taste just like blackberries, by the way. I have to retaste them if they decide to give fruit this time. But yeah. I've seen them in our travels. I've never picked them. You should. They're good. They're good. Well, if you like, blackberries and raspberries, if you like that type of taste, it's good. As long as you make sure you pick them at the right time, they taste great. If you pick them too early, they're sour. It's not gonna hurt you, but they're sour. Just make sure that they're nice and the little bubbles, the little berry bumps or bubbles, make sure they're nice and plump. They're ready to go. Yeah, and I'll confirm that they're the right species. Yeah, definitely. Just as a precaution. Like, you'll know, because they look like blackberries. They look like blackberries. They'll have the little thorns. Just be careful, because the plants are very thorny. They will they will mess you up. Ask me how I know. Yeah, they'll mess you up. But yeah, I think personally I think they taste good. So if you see them, give them a try. Also, our redbud tree decided to flower, and those flowers are edible, by the way. The redbud, the redbud pink flowers are like red, like very dark pink. It kind of looks like this, actually. The flowers look like this pink. They taste like spinach, and they're completely edible. They taste like baby spinach. Do you eat them raw? Yeah, like just right off the tree. They just taste like spinach. Like you just rip them off the tree and that's it. You can probably make like a salad with it if you really wanted to. They're supposed to be good and they're supposed to be good like for vitamin C. This year we're going to try to see if we can make acorn flour and harvest a bunch of acorns and make flour out of it. That would be cool because we have a ton of oak trees. So that might be a project in and of itself. Planet Talk is refreshing after so much political discourse. True. Yeah, definitely keep us informed of your endeavors. Make sure there's no cops around. It might get spooked. True. We're very careful. Very careful with our acorns over here. All right, folks, we got to finish this. Putting the train back on the tracks. Trump is arguing for absolute immunity. Trump Trump's legal team filed a brief outlining their legal arguments ahead of oral arguments in the case of on April 25th, saying Trump should enjoy absolute immunity for any official acts he undertook as president. The president cannot function and the presidency itself cannot retain its vital independence. Which question mark? Vital independence? What are you talking about, dude? There's checks and balances that happen. You're not just doing things unilaterally. There's always going to be some kind of, theoretically, the way it's supposed to work, there's always going to be some type of way of checking what you do, right? Like a president doesn't just do things unilaterally. Like even executive orders have limits, right? Anyways, the president cannot function and the presidency itself cannot retain its vital independence if the president faces criminal prosecution for official acts once he leaves office. No. The only reason there would be criminal prosecution, the only reason there would be any threat of criminal prosecution is if you, I don't know, do a crime. So, like, basically, fundamentally, the argument is here, like, yeah, dude, the president should just be, the president can do anything up to and including crimes, and there should be absolute immunity, because, like, they might actually face consequences. What? Yeah, but he wants to be a dictator. Exactly. Unironically. Yep. If he wasn't acting officially. If the court rejects his claim, it would, quote, incapacitate every future president, leaving them open to blackmail and extortion. Again, you wouldn't be facing criminal prosecution if you didn't do crimes, dude. The whole argument is like basically saying that, like, yeah, the opposing party can just like randomly prosecute criminally the opponent. Yeah, presidents can murder apparently because they have to be allowed to operate independently and cannot be restrained by things like law, because it would incapacitate them. Prosecutors led by special counsel Jack Smith are hoping for a swift ruling against Trump so that a criminal trial can take place before November's presidential election. Smith's own brief is due April 8th. So Biden can do his crimes and have immunity too. No, whoa. No. The Biden crime family needs to be held to account. You see, that's how that works. This is why they're slow rolling the ruling so Biden can't. The court, which has a 6-3 conservative supermajority, including 3 Trump appointees, will be considering the novel legal question of whether whether former presidents enjoy presidential immunity for conduct alleged to involve official acts during the tenure of his office. Yeah, the novel legal question of whether or not presidents are above the law. Phenomenal. If presidents are immune, Biden can shoot Trump. Yep, true. Let's go Corn Pop. He was a tough dude. Trump has so far lost this argument into different courts because it would be absurd to even consider this. In this new brief, which is wild, that the Supreme this is the follow up that we were talking about, that the Supreme Court has decided to even take this. In the new brief, his lawyers argue that the case zeroes in on the president's unique power under the Constitution, which the Supreme Court has previously affirmed in various contexts, although not in a criminal case. They cite, among other things, a 1982 Supreme Court ruling in a case called Nixon v. Fitzgerald that said the president cannot be sued in a civil case for conduct within the outer perimeter of his authority. Yeah, dude, you know, nothing inspires confidence, and nothing inspires innocence, right? The image of innocence, than trying to cite the Nixon case. Furthermore, as Bipedal just pointed out, this is not a civil case. The justices should neutralize one of the greatest threats to the president's separate power, a bedrock of our republic in our nation's history. Trump's team also left open the possibility that if the court rejects his bid to have the charges dismissed outright, it could remand the case to lower courts for further fact-finding on whether the charges concern official acts that would delay any trials even further. Delay. Nothing about the defense here is relying on the merits of the actual facts. This is all procedural. That's not good. Not good for Trump. But also it's absurd that this is where we're at. Yeah, they both start with C. Same thing. Smith's team has previously argued that there's no broad immunity that prevents former presidents from being prosecuted for criminal acts committed in office. An attempt to use fraudulent means to thwart the transfer of power should not be considered an official act. It's not. Like, there's no, a presidential, job description that says, attempting to defraud the United States is something that falls under the purview of a presidential, job description, so to speak. It's not an official act. It's absurd to even consider that. Trump's immunity claim was prompted by a four-count indictment in Washington, including charges of conspiracy to defraud the U.S. and conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. He has pleaded not guilty. The Washington U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan in December rejected Trump's plea for immunity. The three-panel judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia upheld that decision in February, prompting Trump to turn to the Supreme Court. Also, the indictment in Manhattan was for things he did before he became president. Yep, that's true. So does he want, backwards immunity too? President for life. To piggyback off that, the judge in Trump's classified documents case proposed absurd jury instructions. It's insane that the Supreme Court is even hearing this case. Yeah, that's the problem. Since not only did he lose the lower court, he lost the appeal. It's done. And the fact of the matter is this is incredibly dangerous that the Supreme Court would even be playing with this idea. The Supreme Court is toying with the idea that presidents can just do whatever they want. That shouldn't be up for discussion. The judge presiding over the charges against former President Trump for allegedly hoarding classified documents after leaving the White House proposed on Monday jury instructions for the eventual trial that favor his claim that he declassified records. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon, which incidentally was appointed by Trump, proposal tips the scale so far in Trump's direction that legal experts say the prosecutor, Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith, might ask an appeals court to remove her from the case. Joyce White Vance, a former U.S. attorney, said the Presidential Records Act isn't a way around rules for handling classified documents, because records are still government property, not Trump's personal possessions. Expect their response to be hard-hitting, said Vance, of the prosecutor in a post on Substack. The bottom line is that the Presidential Records Act doesn't forgive Trump for violating criminal laws regarding handling of national secrets. Whiny baby conservatives will cry unfair if the Supreme Court didn't take this case, even though it's literally unfair that they did. No, not wrong at all. Cannon gave lawyers for Trump's and Smith until April 2nd, which is a couple weeks from now, to submit a proposed jury instruction before the eventual trial. The order on yesterday came after a hearing in which she didn't resolve the dispute of whether documents fell under the Presidential Records Act. But her order for lawyers on both sides to engage with possible instructions, with the two possible instructions she proposed. And one, Cannon said jurors should make a factual finding as to whether the government had proven beyond a reasonable doubt the records are personal or presidential. In the other, Cannon proposed telling jurors the president has sole authority under the Presidential Records Act to categorize records as personal or presidential during his or her presidency. Neither a court nor a jury is permitted to make or review such as categorization decisions. That's absurd. That's absurd. Legal experts blasted the order as insane and nuts. The second scenario is legally insane, and under it, Cannon could simply dismiss the charges. That's wild. In what world would this be okay? To have a judge set the jury rules to the point where, basically Trump can't be found guilty. Yes, let's give President Man, Baby Poo Poo Pants, Micro Dick, Unlimited Power, and see what happens. Yeah, nothing wrong could possibly happen, right? It's he's also the least of the worries, should a Trump administration come into power, people like Steve Miller would, undoubtedly be a part of his administration or an active participant of his administration, and that is a scary dude. So it's not just Trump as well. Yeah, Satan's more evil brother, Stephen Miller. That's right. George Conway, another lawyer and frequent critic of Trump, argued Cannon shouldn't even be hearing the case and shouldn't even be a federal judge. Cannon was appointed by Trump and has been widely criticized for decisions that have delayed the trial, including 2 overturned by the 11th U.S. Circuit of Appeals. That is utterly nuts, Conway said. Vance said both proposals from Cannon virtually direct the jury to find Trump. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's wild that a judge can set the stage like that. But okay. It turns out it's 2 pages of crazy stemming from the judge's apparently inability to tell Trump no when it comes to his arguments that he turned the nation's secret into personal records by designating them as such under the Presidential Records Act. Yeah, so that's wild. We'll keep track about on this case, if there's any updates. But if that's how that's going to end up, playing out, essentially, Trump is just gonna get away with that. No doubt about it. Unless there's an appeals and she gets removed completely from the case, then it's quite possible he's gonna walk on this one too. There's got to be something. I think Al Capone got nailed for tax evasion. Yep. I mean, eventually something's got to give. The most important case, in my opinion, the most important case is the election fraud cases. This one is like in the middle because it's not like high priority or not high priority. Not as high importance in my opinion. Versus like the dude literally had schemes to try to change or subvert the 2020 election, and the dude was literally inspiring an insurrection, right? Like that's more important than this. But we'll see, I guess. Pro-Trump lawyer arrested on warrant after court hearing in separate case on Dominion leaks. Yep. A lawyer representing Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne in a defamation lawsuit filed by Dominion was arrested after a status hearing in Washington, D.C., where she acknowledged in court disseminating confidential documents from the voting machine company to law enforcement. A judge in Michigan, where Stephanie Lambert is also facing criminal charges for allegedly tampering with voting machines, had issued an arrest warrant for the attorney. She's being charged with being a fugitive from justice for failing to show up to a hearing on March 7th, police in Michigan said, but declined to elaborate any further. I mean, like, that's... Yeah, I think that's... I think that's all we need to know from that article. You know, these things write themselves, huh? Yeah. Nice meme. Birds of a feather or whatever. Yeah. Birds of a feather face criminal charges together. The liberals are going to do the alt-right playbook. They go low, we go high. Bullshit. How the hell are you going to allow this dude to run after what he's shown, what he's willing to do? Yep. Yep. In my opinion, in my opinion, the liberals are incapable of properly dealing. They don't have, the liberal ideology is not equipped sufficiently to deal with fascism. All right, folks. I'm on a time crunch, so we're gonna speed run. Well, we only got 2 articles. The Supreme Court. I was referring to the Innuendo Studios video. Yes, I remember that. That was a very long time ago. That was a very long time ago. Do they still make videos? Yeah, they do, right? There's a lot of these playlists. Hmm. I haven't seen some of their videos in a while. If you want to check out the Outright Playbook or the Innuendo Studios that Firefly is talking about, consider checking them out here. Yeah, this does suck because like basically what the Supreme Court is saying is that is that the federal government actually doesn't have control of immigration. That's what the Supreme Court is saying. So yeah, very cool, very normal. The Supreme Court allows Texas to begin enforcing the controversial immigration law. The Supreme Court on Tuesday today cleared the way for Texas to immediately begin enforcing a controversial immigration law that allows state officials to arrest and detain people they suspect of entering the country illegally. Yeah, nothing could possibly go wrong with this at all. The court's 3 liberals dissented. Legal challenges to the law are ongoing at a federal appeals court, but the decision hands a significant yet temporary win to Texas, which has been battling the Biden administration over immigration policy. The court had been blocked from the law had blocked the law from taking effect, issued an indefinite pause on the proceedings a day earlier, which was wiped away by Tuesday's order. SB 4, signed into law by Republican Greg Abbott in December, makes entering Texas illegally a state crime and allows state judges to order immigrants to be deported. Immigration enforcement generally is a function of the federal government. The law immediately raised concerns among immigration advocates of increased racial profiling, as well as detentions and attempted deportation by state authorities in Texas, where Latinos represent 40% of the population. Undoubtedly, that this is the thing that's going. It already happens. Anyways, a federal judge in Austin had blocked the state government from implementing the law, but the Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals granted a temporary stay of the lower court's decision and said the law would take effect on March 10th if the Supreme Court didn't act. A pair of emergency appeals from the Biden administration and others soon followed. Abbott on Tuesday called the court's order a positive development, but acknowledged that the case will continue in the appeals court. White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre said on Tuesday that we fundamentally disagree with the ruling. SB 4 will not only make communities in Texas less safe, it will also burden law enforcement, so chaos and confusion at the southern border. She said in a statement, SB 4 is just another example of Republican officials politicizing the border while blocking real solutions. What is this going to accomplish? They got a temporary win to be able to essentially detain and deport people they deem illegally entering Texas, which is absurd because that's not something that the states are technically, it doesn't fall under their power. As is often the case in emergency applications, the Supreme Court did not explain its reasoning. Cool. Nice. However, a concurring opinion written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, joined by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, explained that the appeals court had handed down only a temporary administrative order. Barrett appeared eager to keep the Supreme Court out of reviewing such orders. So far as I know, the court has never reviewed the decision of a court of appeals to enter or not enter an administrative stay. Barrett wrote, I would not get into the business. When entered, an administrative stay is supposed to be a short-lived prelude to the main event, a ruling on the motion for a stay pending appeal. Barrett said she thought it was unwise to invite emergency litigation in this court about whether a court of appeals abused its discretion at the preliminary step. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, whose dissent was joined by fellow liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, said an order invites further chaos and crisis in immigration enforcement. The law, Sotomayor wrote in her dissent, upends the federal-state balance of power that has existed for over a century, in which the national government has had exclusive authority over the entry of and removal of non-citizens. Right. So SCOTUS is going to reassign the constitutional right of the federal government to regulate borders. Apparently, leaves a lot of room for abuse of law. Yep. Texas can now immediately enforce its own law, imposing a criminal liability on thousands of non-citizens and requiring their removal to Mexico. This law will disrupt sensitive foreign relations, frustrate the protection of individuals fleeing persecution, hamper active federal enforcement efforts, undermine federal agencies' ability to detect and monitor imminent security threats, and deter non-citizens from reporting abuse or trafficking. Justice Elena Kagan noted in her brief dissent that in her view, the case is always in this posture of preliminary. But the subject of immigration generally and the entry and removal of non-citizens, particularly are matters long thought of special province of the federal government. And that's basically the end of that. That's absurd. Barrett and Kavanaugh, two critical votes in the High Court, wrote that the justices should stay out of second-guessing appeals courts when it comes to the very short-term, quote, administrative pause that are generally used to give courts a few additional days to review briefs. Barrett wrote that if the Fifth Circuit doesn't issue a decision soon, the Biden administration and the other parties in the case could return to the Supreme Court. The time may come in this case or another when the Supreme Court is forced to conclude that administrative stay has effectively become a stay pending appeal and review it accordingly. But at this juncture in the case, the conclusion would be premature. Tammy Goodlett, an attorney representing some of the law's challengers, called the court order unfortunate and it needlessly puts people's lives at risk. We remain committed to fight permanently overturn SB 4 to show the nation that no state has the power to overtake federal immigration authority. So yeah. Whew. We'll keep following this and see what happens, but that's not good, not great. Mississippi ex-deputy gets 20-year sentence in racist torture of two black men. A former Mississippi sheriff's deputy was sentenced today to about 20 years in prison for his part in torturing two black men in a racist assault and for his role in a separate episode where a white man was sexually assaulted. Hunter Elward, 31, was given a 241-month sentence by U.S. District Judge Tom Lee. The judge is also due to sentence the other 5 ex-officers who admitted to torturing Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker after a neighbor complained that the men were staying in a home with a white woman. Jesus Christ, what frickin' year is this? The sentencing Lee called Elder's crimes egregious and despicable and said that a sentence at the top of the guidelines range is justified and is more than justified. It's what the defendant deserves. It's what the community and the defendant's victims deserve. In January of 23, the group of 6 busted into the Rankin County home without a warrant, assaulted Jenkins and Parker with stun guns, sex toys, and other objects. Jesus Christ. Elwood admitted to shoving a gun into his mouth and firing a mock execution that went awry. The terror began on January of 2023 with racist call for extrajudicial violence, lynchings, okay? When a white person phoned Rankin County Deputy Brett Malcapine and complained that 2 black men were staying with white women in a house in Braxton. McAlpin told Deputy Christian Denman, who texted a group of white deputies so willing to use excessive force, they called themselves the Goon Squad. Yeah. Who needs a time machine when you can just take a look at headlines, huh? Yeah, 1824 or 1954 in the South. So once they got busted inside, these thugs handcuffed Jenkins and his friend Parker, poured milk and alcohol and chocolate syrup all over their faces. They forced them to strip naked, shower together to conceal the mess. They mocked the victims with racial slurs and shocked them with stun guns. After Elwood shot Jenkins in the mouth, they devised a cover-up that included planting drugs and a gun. Yeah, that's a classic, right? Classic cop move. Is that what they meant when the South, when they said the South will rise again? Yeah. Unironically, this is the kind of stuff that they literally like freaking fantasize about, and like these guys couldn't friggin' wait. These guys couldn't freaking wait for the call. Yeah. False charges stood against Jenkins and Parkers for months, and Jenkins suffered a lacerated tongue and broken jaw. How many months did he get for this? They got 20. Well, this dude got 20 years. This dude got 20 years. Last March, months before federal prosecutors announced charges, an investigation by the Associated Press linked some of the deputies to at least 4 other violent encounters with black men since 2019 that left 2 dead and another with lasting injuries. Whew. Yeah. Over or under that, like, these people are like Klan members. Yeah, gotta keep society safe. Jenkins is a musician and his injuries have prevented him from singing as he used to. He also said he has trouble speaking and eating. Parker said he relives the episode in his nightmares. That is horrifying. Man, that's so depressing. That's so depressing. Both men who were sitting in the front row called for the stiffest of sentences. Their attorney, Malik Shabazz, said they were too traumatized to speak in court, and he read the statements on their behalf. I am hurt and I am broken. They tried to take my manhood from me. They did some unimaginable things to me, and the effects will linger for the rest of my life. Elwood, who wore a dark blue jumpsuit with tape obscuring the name of the facility where he'd be housed, said before the sentence he wouldn't make any excuses. He turned to address Jenkins and looked at them directly. I don't want to get too personal. I see you every night and I can't go back and do what's right. I'm sorry for what I did. Nah, go F yourself. Go F yourself. You weren't thinking about that when you did that to other people too, right? It became the new norm. It became institutional. Hunter was initiated into a culture of corruption at the Rankin County Sheriff's Office. Oh, it's not just there. I can take a bet that it's not just there. Stories like this give us a little peep through the looking glass at what police culture really is. During a speech on Tuesday at the University of Georgia, FBI Director Christopher Wray spoke about the federal investigation into the unspeakable crimes committed by the 6 former law enforcement officers. It's hard to imagine a more atrocious set of civil rights violations than those carried out by these guys. But on the flip side, it's hard to imagine more important work than investigating those crimes and seeking justice for the victims. Elwood was sentenced for his role in the assault and another person that took place weeks before Jenkins and Parkers were tortured. For the first time Tuesday, prosecutors identified the victim as Alan Schmidt, and read a statement from him detailing what happened to him on December of 2022. During a traffic stop, the Rankin County deputies accused him of possessing stolen property. They pulled him from the car and beat him. Then Dedmon forced his knees and tried to insert. Yeah. I pray every day that I can forgive them one day, and I hopefully get the humiliation and forget the humiliation and evil physical and sexual assault that I endured. I know that I'm not the only victim, and I pray for each victim that crossed their paths with the Goon Squad members. I hope they get, like, not only, yeah, he was definitely a serial abuser. Not only does he deserve 20 years or more, but I hope that each one of these victims also bury them financially. The officers charged with torturing Parker and Jenkins include Elwood, McAlpin, Dedmon, Jeffrey Middleton, Daniel Updike of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, and Joshua Hartfield, a Richland police officer. They've all pleaded guilty. On the federal charges, all former officers are facing potentially decades-long prison sentence. They're also agreed to prosecutor recommended sentences ranging from 5 to 30 years. I hope they get the 30. Time served for separate convictions at the state will run concurrently with the potentially longer federal sentences. The white majority Rankin County is just east of the state capital, Jackson, home to one of the highest percentage of black residents of any major U.S. city. The officers warned Jenkins and Parker to stay out of Rankin County and go back to Jackson or their side of Pearl River, court documents referring to an area with higher concentration of black residents. For months, Rankin County Sheriff Brian Bailey, whose deputies committed the crime, said little about the episode. After the officers pleaded guilty in August, Bailey said his officers gone rogue and promised to change the department. Nah, you need to go to. Jenkins and Parker have called for his resignation, and they filed a $400 million civil lawsuit against the department. Good. 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 I hope they sue the individuals as well. And I hope they get buried, not just in prison, but also financially. Absolutely disgusting. Can't undo what's been done, but yeah, 100%. Really, what needs to be done is a whole rework from top to bottom of how we think of policing. There's no fixing that. There's no fixing that at all. The cops, yeah. Yep. Bury the cops, not just in prison, but financially. The department, too. You can't sue cops individually? Really? That's unfortunate. Well, bury the whole department, then. Bury the whole department. Fuck them. 400 million is too little. That's unfortunate. In that case, I take that back. Bury the whole department then. Get rid of the entire department and remake it from top to bottom. Yeah, an entire reset. Exactly. It does need to happen across the nation. And stories like this, like the reason why we point this out, is because it's a little window as to the broader problem. It's not just here. This is particularly heinous, but not the only stories. Not the only stories, folks. This is just to highlight like the broader problem that this country has in terms of policing. And like you said, we just need a big reset. across the entire country. Excuse me. All right, folks. I gotta get going. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you guys for the support. That's right, Michael Hasser. Thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you. Thank you all for the support. Thank you for the biddies, subscriptions, follows. If you're on the YouTube, thank you. Make sure you subscribe and like. SRD Law PLC, thank you for the stream. Thank you. And OK Life, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Make sure you hit the follow button. Firefly, thank you. Yes, thank you to all the lurkers. I appreciate you hanging out. Thank you, Firefly. Thank you, The Raven. Thank you, Conscious Canuck. Quad Bennett. I appreciate you guys mixing it up in the chat. Irked. Bipedal Meatbag. Michael Hasser Heat. Thank you for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Kami Kazion, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you enjoy the content, don't forget, follow. It really does help us out. Spread the word. Bring a friend. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Again, subscribe to the YouTube, share, like the stream, do all the awesome stuff. If you want to support the channel and want to wear some cool merch, just hit !merch. Join the Discord, okay? Join the Discord, !Discord. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time. See ya. Thank you. Hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.